Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. So it's the last Sunday in March, March 27th, 2022. And our topic today is wanting versus desiring. And you may think they're the same thing, but as we discuss it, I think you'll see the difference. I'm going to begin with an opening affirmative prayer by Ernest Holmes. And he said in his book 365, which is an inspirational reading for each day, since there is but one life present everywhere, I must be in that life and of it, and it must flow through me. It must be what I am. Therefore, I accept this omnipresence as something real, definite, immediate. At the very center of my own being, I realize the divine presence. At the center of my own consciousness, I recognize a transcendent principle forever animating, sustaining, vitalizing, recreating, guiding, directing, inspiring. There is within me that which knows what to do and impels me to act in accord with its perfect law and order and its complete peace. This I accept, and even as I affirm it, I know that this omnipresence is alive and awake and aware within me. And so it is. And the quote is from Genesis 28:15, a Bible quote, and it says, "And behold, I am with you and will keep you in all places wherever you go." And that fits right into our talk of "will keep you wherever you go," and about this part of us that is greater than we are and yet is a part of us and within us, and we so often just forget about it and ignore it. We're talking about the difference between wanting and desiring, and because in our teaching we believe that desiring is the first step to creating what you want to experience, and I believe that that's true. For example, one of our people in our group decided that they wanted to have more fun and travel and see more. And so she actually started a business of taking seniors on bus rides to various parts of Florida and just having fun. She saw it, she wanted it, she did it. Desire was the first part of it. Bob had a desire to have it, and I had a desire to have his art be purchasable. And so we started the art website early this year, and it's going very well. And it wouldn't have happened if we hadn't had the desire to do that. So I would like to be very clear that desire, when it's something that you're going to go for and you know you want it, you want to do it, is a very good thing.
So I want to talk about the wanting, the dilemma of wanting.
Right.
And for me, a good example of that is I submitted a good deal of work to CBS Sunday Morning, and CBS Sunday Morning started showing the work, and it's very exciting. And I desired to have that kind of exposure and also that kind of recognition, and so it happened. And I found myself this week, in fact, or 2 weeks ago, they got an email that I was going to have a piece of work on CBS Sunday Morning. I thought, that's really great. And then I began wanting. My want was, I hope I can have it on again the following week. I wonder how long it'll be on. And so I went from the desire right to the next, to wanting more. And what I noticed about it, and what I want to talk about, is that the wanting piece of that took away from the joy, took away from the experience. This week, I got another email saying that my work was going to be on CBS Sunday Morning again this morning. And I thought, slow down now. How does that feel?
Yeah.
And I thought,
Slow down and take it in.
Yeah, it feels really good. And what if there was not going to be a tomorrow, but today was all there really was? How would you then want to appreciate this? And I thought, isn't it something that the person would take the time to go through all of the different pieces of work that they could choose from? They chose mine. Isn't it wonderful that this particular piece of work happens to match the interview, and what's the consciousness in that? And there was a whole world of exploration for me to enjoy and a taste to savor. And it would be so easily missed if well, that's good. I mean, we see it's been 2 weeks. Maybe next week, I don't know. I don't expect I'll get shown every week. Maybe see, automatically then what I do and what we do is we eliminate the possibility of the now experience. And when it comes down to what does that really represent? What it represents is really two fears that we have, that we're not going to look good and we're not going to be right. If my work is showing,
we're not going to be enough.
yeah, the not enoughness. We want to be enough. And behind the wanting, really, if you really look at it very carefully, is an abundance of lack. And the most powerful thing about wanting is how much it reflects a feeling of lack. So if I have a piece of work on CBS Sunday Morning and it's shown internationally, why am I saying wanting more? Because there's a lack there, a lack of appreciation of what's actually happening and how my life is unfolding, and a feeling, a very vague feeling that if I had a warranty on this, if I had a guarantee, if it were going to be even bigger every single week, I don't know if that would be enough, but it would be closer. And so what we're often doing without meaning to is we're living our lives trying to get closer to having enough while supporting the notion that we're not, that we're never enough. And in fact, this week the song we're going to play at the end of it, which I don't mind mentioning now because it's so wonderful. Cat Stevens wrote this, has a whole album called Jazero, J-Z-E-R-O. And what it means is I'm just a zero. Whatever you think of me, I'm really quite a bit less. Whatever and don't give me a lot of time and attention, just be with me. It's a great song because it's all about giving up the notion that we are the look that we have. Ram Dass, in one of his videos that we watched last night, was talking about the sad thing about wearing a mask. We put on a mask so that we'll be approved of. And we don't really want to hang out with any of the people that love our mask. We want to hang out with the people that love us, except we hide ourselves from them with the mask we wear. So I have to be willing to say, is being an artist an expression of my divine good, or is it a mask that I put on in order to be more? And as you grapple with that in your own life, whatever it is that you do well, can you do it as a divine expression of your good? Or do you end up at the end of the day saying, I hope it's as good as someone else, or I hope it's good enough, or I hope I'm good enough.
Or I hope I make enough or earn enough, or hope but that good enough, Ram Dass even admitted that his seeking, his spiritual seeking, was really all about trying to become perfect because he felt he wasn't, he wasn't good enough. And so that he said he found that seeking is actually an abundance of lack.
Yeah. A very special friend of mine confided in me recently that he needed to make more money doing the job that he was doing. And he confided that if he didn't make more money doing the job he was doing, he wasn't going to continue to do it. He was going to leave because he felt he wasn't getting what he was worth. And I really supported and believe that that's absolutely true. And then he let me know recently that he, in fact, got exactly now the money that he asked for. And now the question in my mind for him will be, will you now do what it is that you said you desired or not? And that is a challenge. When you get what you say you want, will you do what you said you wanted to do? Or is the want so great that you'll still want more? And I suspect he's a pretty grown-up person. I suspect that he'll be able to do really well with having received what he wanted and be able to move forward. But we're often stuck with, well, that was good. That'll be good for this year.
But I want more.
Yeah.
And I need more.
Yeah, especially since most Americans historically, from what I understand, spend 10% more than they make in any given year, which always means that no matter how much they make, they're working on not enoughness.
Yeah.
And before Judith, give it back to you. I'm on an
You're on a tear here. Okay.
How many of you have met someone who had been poor earlier in their life, who struck it rich, got an inheritance, or made a ton of money, or got a patent or something, and for the rest of their lives, they had more money than anybody ever could have imagined having. And whenever you meet them, they're poor. They're poor because they're always worried that they won't have enough. That is, the enough that they have won't be enough because somebody will take it. It will dissolve. It will go away. And one of the striking things I found with that is that in the long run, the people that have a great deal, that have in consciousness not enough, die poor. And many of them actually even lose the gifts that they've been given because they have been poor for so long, they can't deal with having the abundance that they've requested. So having the desire to have what's good for you or what's possible, having the desire is the first step. Wanting is not really useful.
As a matter of fact, in our language, in the English language, the want of something means the lack of something. I looked up a poem I remember hearing in childhood that you probably heard too. And it says, for want of a nail, the shoe was lost. For want of a shoe, the horse was lost. For want of a horse, the rider was lost. For want of a rider, the message was lost. For want of a message, the battle was lost. For want of a battle, the kingdom was lost. And all for the want of a horseshoe nail. So of course, that's a little ditty to remind us
That's
that,
rich. That's really
that
rich.
there's importance in doing the little things, and that they're all important. They can add up to achieving big things or losing big things. But I wanted to look it up because for that word want in our language can actually mean the lack, can mean lack. And so years ago, I read a book called Women Who Love Too Much. It really changed my life. And I should know the woman's name who wrote it, and all I remember is her first name, which was Robin. Women Who Love Too Much. And what she said in this book was that, and the women who loved too much were women who stayed in painful and damaging relationships way too long. They put up with abuse and all kinds of things. Saying that they kept loving this person and didn't want to lose that love. And what she said is that women often confuse love and loving with longing to be loved. So in other words, they were confusing, I want him to love me. I'm longing for him to love me with love itself. And the more that you long for someone to love you the way you want to be loved, the more abuse you put up with. And that really turned my life around. And I thought it's the same thing because that's coming from a place of lack. I don't have what I want. I'm longing to have it. And we do that with lots of things that we want. And like as Bob said, as soon as you get it, you want more or different, and that all comes from that longing for it, which means I don't have it. So in our teaching, you're telling the universe, I don't have. I want, but I don't have. And the universe says, right, you are my beloved. You want it, but you don't have it. So it's a very subtle difference, I think, in the way we use language, desire and wanting, but it's very profound. It makes a profound difference. And I'm sure you've all had experiences with something that you desired and you knew you were going to do that, be that, get that, versus things that you longed for that are perhaps still longing for.
The change of a word or two or an understanding of a word can transform everything. I was talking to one of the patients that I work with in the mental health center that I work with, and it's a tough place for a person to have to be, because to be in this place, you have to be seriously mentally ill. And he was telling me that how much he hated having to be there. And I said, what if you changed, I've got to be here, to I get to be here? And if you said, I get to be here, how would you act? What would you do? And he just smiled and he said, that would change everything. I said, so how do you think you could participate in not wanting to be out, but allowing yourself to be free where you are? You see, many of us don't have to be in a psychiatric hospital to be imprisoned. We're imprisoned with having so much around us that we don't notice the prison. We don't notice that we are operating out of lack because we have just enough that lack is not obvious. We have shoes, we have the clothes we need, we have the choices we can make to watch the programs we want to watch. So we think we're free. But the truth is we're often not free because we're imprisoned by an idea of limitation. And so whenever you can say to yourself, I get to be here, I get to do this, how do I want to do it? How do I want to appreciate and take in this world that I'm living in? It transforms the experience of being from lack and fear and worry and doubt to, wow, what a privilege, what an opportunity. Who was the famous nun in India? I can't think of her name.
Mother Teresa.
Mother Teresa. And I love what she said when she was challenged with how can you take care of all of these sick, decrepit people? She said, I minister to Jesus in all of his many disguises.
In all of his distressing disguises.
Okay, thank you.
In all of his distressing disguises.
But what an idea to see that in someone who is dying from something, who's obviously very poor. And she was ministering to the people of a lower social group, of a caste system that they intended to abandon. They were
They
abandoned
just left
from
them
life.
on the street.
Right. So these were the people that didn't have showers and baths and clothes and so much of what it is we value. How could you possibly do that? And Ram Dass in the talk we were watching the other night said, when you get to the point of being free, and love is free within you to be expressed, not to be something you're going to get more of or you're going to give more of, but it's something that you experience. He said, you look around and you see all your lovers, and you see everybody as your lover, because you don't have to have them, you don't have to collect them, you don't have to own them. You can simply look into their eyes and see their heart and their soul and say, I get to be with the beloved again. I get to be with all my lovers, and they don't even have to know. What a shift, though, if you think about it, when you're with people, to be able to look deep enough into them to see the heart that you have loving them and the heart that they have loving you.
So I would like to make one more distinction about wanting and desiring. Hans Selye was a psychologist, a Canadian psychologist who did the first publishing of research about stress. But he differentiated two kinds of stress. Distress was the kind we feel when we feel too pressured and too rushed and too unable to achieve what we want to. But there's another kind of stress called eustress, like euphoria. It's positive stress. And that's something we feel, for example, in a career where we want to achieve something or do something or create a talk or a writing or something, but it's a positive stress. It's very much like that desiring versus wanting. One is positive, one can be negative. And I noticed this morning, I woke up from a dream where I was very unhappy about a situation. I couldn't seem to shake it. I'd wake up and say, I don't want to dream about that. And I woke up, I was still dreaming about it. And so I used the technique from Byron Katie. We're studying her book, 1,000 Names for Joy. And she has a 4-step process that you question that thought, and the thought that was distressing me, the first question is, am I sure that that's true? Do I absolutely know that's true? And I had to say, in other words, if this happens, this will be terrible for someone I love. Okay. No, I don't know that that's true. And just with that, the opposite could just as easily be true, just with those two questions. Yeah, the opposite could just as, I was able to release all that suffering that I was doing mentally and emotionally. And when we do that, we can just appreciate and be here now and be with the same circumstance, the exact circumstances, and yet it's all okay. And Byron Katie gives this definition of grace. She says, grace means understanding that where you are is where you always wanted to be. Where you are. So instead of longing for, wanting more, having not enough, being not enough, but just where you are right now is where you always wanted to be. This is exactly where you're supposed to be right now.
I was watching an old movie, and the couple hadn't been together officially, and they were kind of negotiating how they were going to be together officially, and they were doing it through talking. And he was saying, I want to be loved, and I want to be cared about, and I want to be trusted, and I wanted somebody I can trust. And she was saying, and I want, and he was saying, I want, and they were going on with the wants. And for those of us in the audience, I think it seemed like a forever wanting and a longing, and we could all relate to that. And then suddenly, I don't know which one of them broke into that conversation and simply reached over, grabbed the other one's neck gently, pulled that person's head toward them and kissed them. And I thought, what was lacking in the conversation was the doing, the action, the activity of loving. So I want to move into a little bit further into that and say that the reason that we're talking about this today is not so that you can have a psychologically better life, which would be nice, or that you could be happier in this physical world where we're all wanting to be happy, but where you could set aside what keeps you from recognizing your own divinity, what keeps you from recognizing and appreciating your own goodness, your own aliveness. And I really think that for us to be spiritual beings, we have to be able to recognize our own aliveness. And we can't do that if we would be willing to be alive if things changed. If things were simply better, we could. I would really have a life, and I hear this all the time. And I'm going to get a life. What are you living now? I'm living a lot of worry, a lot of fear, a lot of doubt, a lot of I have a lot of history. And I say, well, what would happen if you just decided to be alive now? And so when you hear that in your own head, boy, wait till Sunday. Thank God it's Wednesday, hump day. Thank God it's Friday. If you worry enough about the weekend, by the time the weekend gets there, you need relief from the worry, not the ability to enjoy the weekend. And I know for me, it certainly has happened for me. I look forward to Friday so I can have Saturday off, and then I think Saturday and Sunday aren't long enough, and then Sunday I begin to worry that I have to go back to work Monday. And if I'm not careful, I can make sure to worry all the way through all 7 days. And none of you have ever done that, fortunately. But I think we have to say, it's time to take some course of mental and physical action to embrace the life we're living, to embrace the opportunity to experience ourselves and the love we have.
So one of the things that we are most worried or afraid of is dying. And Ram Dass shared some wisdom about that. He used to enjoy being with people in their last hours and would meditate, and often would bring them to a state of ecstasy, even in great pain, just when he would get there in meditation. And he had two comments about what death is like. He said, and he asked Spirit, what can I say to these my people here in this country? They're so afraid of death. He said, tell them that dying is perfectly safe. Which I think is great. It's like a release. It's a lot like taking off a tight shoe. And I think that is what it will be like. And that is who we are ultimately. We are ultimately eternal spirit. And so if we are ultimately eternal spirit, can we be here now? Can we just enjoy this process that we're in and give ourselves a break from wanting more or wanting to be enough, have enough?
And judging. And judging.
And it's always a judgment if we're saying we don't.
I was going for a walk with somebody the other day, and he was complaining about a variety of different things. In fact, I think he was complaining about almost everything. And as he was complaining, he was being interfered with by the mockingbirds, and who were singing just incredibly loud and just so many different songs. And he said, I hate those damn mockingbirds. I said, what do you hate about them? He said, they don't even have their own songs. They're singing somebody else's songs. And I said, could we look at it a little differently? He said, how could you look at that differently? I said, imagine a bird born with his own song who's willing to set it aside to celebrate all of the songs that have ever been sung by all of the other birds. He said, I'd like to think that was nice, but I can't. Okay. Well, sometimes being a judge and a critic and making everybody wrong and yourself as well works really well for making sure that you have the same kind of a miserable day you've had every day so far. But it doesn't do much for making your day better. And as I told him the story, I hadn't thought about it before because I was making it up as I was going along. I thought, damn, I need to do that. I need to listen. I need to listen to the mockingbird, thinking he's not mocking anybody. He is just celebrating. And we hear them at 5 o'clock in the morning. They get up. They have their alarms set so when the sun comes up, they can get up and they start singing and singing and singing. I thought, God, they don't even have their own song and they're singing. I have my own song. Why aren't I singing? Why aren't we singing?
Good reminders. So let's close, shall we, with the closing prayer?
Yeah. So what I know is each of us has our own song. And that song is a universal song. It's a song of love. It's a song of kindness. It's a song that invites the universe to open up before us and express itself through us. That song that each of us sings quietly or out loud or sings in a chorus with others is a song that needs to be heard by first us, and a song that is being heard by the universe as the universe smiles and the divine mind of God through us works through us, helping us find the words, find the notes, and find the joy.
We know this to be true. We always are enough, have enough, and we choose to give thanks for that. And together we say,
And so it is.
And so now we are going to just do a little reminder that, oops, I don't know what happened there.
Just click on this back one.
Okay, yes, thank you. I wanted to share that this is your opportunity to say with us this affirmation of abundance for your life, and also to give you an opportunity to support our work in this ministry. If this was at all helpful to you, we are supported online at our website at cslpalmbeaches.org, which is right here, if you can read that. And the affirmation is over here, and it says, and say with me, my investment today is made with the full realization that God is the source of my supply and returns it to me enriched and multiplied. And so it is. So we thank you. When you go to this page, you can just click on ways to donate, and this pops up, and there are lots of ways that you can support us.
So we're going to end the recording.
So we are now going to close this recording. And
End it now.